By fans, for fans, the Hog Style. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
And welcome back to the Hog Style. It is the post-game show, and a brutal one today, as we're going to unpack that devastating loss at home to the Falcons. Got to do it. It's our job. We're brought to you by TicketClub.com. My name is Sean Conti, and I've got Steve Thomas and Alex Zeese here with me today to struggle through this. Guys, I'm going to lean on you heavily today.
My first thought is that instead of going to see the Bohemian Rhapsody movie last night, I should have seen it during the middle of this game, because it would have been infinitely more fun than having to sit through that trek.
Yeah, Steve and I both, obviously in different places, saw that movie. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of Queen or 70s rock and roll and metal and whatever else they did, because they kind
Queen.
they spanned a couple genres there. Great movie, really entertaining.
Last time you went to a sports game and you didn't hear Queen at least one point during it?
That's a great point.
I mean, pretty much every time, right?
I mean, we played it on the show. So,
We played the hamster version, the squeaky hamster version of We Will Rock You. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, we are the champions.
Sports fans.
I'm sorry.
Yes, we are the champions. Which, so often, We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions just go together.
Well,
Let's
why?
be honest.
Is it was released as a single. The two of them were released together as a single.
Yeah. They kind of melded them together for that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, great movie. Really enjoyed it myself.
Raimi, what's his name, Alex? You told me?
It's Raimi or something.
Raimi something.
Yeah.
That dude channeled the ghost of Freddie Mercury. What
Right.
amazing.
I thought they overdid the mouth a little bit. Then I looked back at an actual picture of Freddie Mercury before the mustache. I was like, no.
Yeah,
no, that's it.
His teeth out like a rabbit.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be talking about a football game here.
Yeah.
Well, so
avoid it.
Steve asked me before the game if I was drunk yet.
You usually are.
And let me just say, Steve, not yet.
Because you usually are drunk by this time when we have these type of games.
Yeah. Well, let me just take a couple more pulls on my whiskey here,
We'll
and
see
I'll
how
be fine.
You're slurring your words by the end of the hour.
All right, well, hopefully you're still riding the high of that movie, then. Let's get into the game. Before we do, this was quite a body bag situation, was it not? I know that, Steve, you had some kind of notes you were taking as the game went on. We don't have an official statement now, but...
No,
we
don't. Yeah, what I got during the game, Sean Laval got wheeled off literally in a wheelchair. Left leg. The guy who calls himself the Pro Football Doc, who I follow on Twitter, who is Dr. Chow, I believe his name is, he said live that it looked like left ACL. So I don't know if that's true or not true. That was his opinion, not mine. He is a doctor. So take that for what you will. Morgan Moses was out and came back in, but clearly was struggling the entire day. The same doc, Mr. Pro Football Doc, said it looked like right MCL strain. So take that for what you will. Brandon Scherf went out and stayed out.
That's the one I'm confused about. Yeah. What's
well, I don't.
That one looked brutal.
Yeah,
absolutely
I'm not sure.
brutal.
If any of you guys have an opinion on Scherf, I don't know what to say. He went out, didn't come back in. Looked like he was in a ton of pain, holding his right arm, I believe.
Yeah.
I know some people on Twitter and on our blog were saying it looked like he may have separated his shoulder or something.
Okay, the people on our blog are idiots.
Yeah, I know.
Hey,
but I thought I'd just say that.
I just like to get it out there. They're morons.
I'm setting you up for something there, Steve,
sure you
to
are.
say they're idiots.
Because you know I'm going to say it. Quentin Dunbar went out with a leg injury, never came back. Tyan Secchi clearly should have gone out there at the end of the game. He was also holding one of his arms, but didn't come out, thankfully.
Wasn't the only thing he was holding this game, my friend.
Hey, listen, and Secchi was playing left guard by the end of this game, so and you can't blame him for that. But that's injuries right now as we know them, and so I think the safer way to do it is to say the healthy starting offensive lineman is Chase Roullier.
Yeah, that's it.
He's the only
Doesn't this remind you of something that happened a year ago?
It does. It's
very quickly.
We're about to see the Casey Dunn era. Let's just say it like that, okay?
Ugh.
I mistakenly said that on Twitter today, forgetting that Casey Dunn was inactive. He's our backup guard, our other backup guard. So we'll see who's healthy.
19,000 people tweeted you, probably.
Yeah. It's like, thanks, guys. Yeah, I know.
Well, so worst case scenario, it's Chase Roullier at center next week, Christian probably at, let's say, left tackle.
Right.
Ty at right tackle if his arm's not
Moses,
falling off.
Morgan, if Moses can go, it'd be Moses at right tackle, Ty at left guard, and then Tony Bergstrom at right.
A lot of question marks.
Although Tony's had more experience at left guard than right guard, so we'll see.
Right.
Either
Right.
way,
We
it's
might
gonna
have
be
to
busy.
go. They might be shopping for a couple backups this weekend.
Yeah, Casey
Or
Dunn needs to
this
strap
week.
up. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So anyway, that point is that's interesting. We don't know the severity of any of this stuff as we're recording right now. If we can figure it out during the recording, we will come back to this. Particularly Dunbar. Dunbar went out, but Dunbar, Scherf, and Laval look like the worst ones of that bunch.
But if Dunbar, we know he had that nerve issue. Let's just hope it's something minor related to that.
Somebody still needs to explain to me how you have a nerve injury in their shin.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's still a mystery.
I'm not a doctor.
Let's it's fitting that the offensive line is so banged up because that's really where this game was lost. Why don't you hit us with the stats up front? But can we separate it out this week? Let's do offensive stats, and then we'll go to defense later.
Okay,
We'll do
all
defensive stats.
The Redskins on offense, Alex Smith was 30 of 46, 306 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 3 sacks, 82.4 quarterback rating.
Hey, he broke 300 yards.
Yes, he
Yeah.
did.
Yay.
Wow.
Rushing wise, Adrian Peterson is 9 for 17. We know what the Redskins do, and he does not have a good game. Can't blame him too much on that. Capri
No.
Bibbs is 3 for 20. Samaje Perine was 2 for 20. Alex Smith had 1 scramble for 22 yards and 1 vicious blow to the head. On the receiving side, Maurice Harris was the big winner today. 10 receptions, 124 yards. Long of 33 on 12 targets. Vernon Davis, 5 for 62. Jordan Reed, 4 for 34 on 6 targets. Josh Doxson, 3 for 31 on 6 targets. Paul Richardson, 2 for 16. Adrian Peterson, 3 for 16. Capri Bibbs, 1 for 15. Samaje Perine, 2 for 8. That was the Redskins on offense. The Falcons on offense, Matt Ryan, 26 for 38, 350 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 2 sacks, 121.6 quarterback rating. Tevin Coleman, 13 for 88 for 6.8 yards per carry. Ito Smith, who's another guy, who's Ito Smith? Well, we learned today he was 10 for 60, 10 carries, 60 yards. In the air, Julio Jones was a big winner, 7 receptions, 121 yards, 1 touchdown, long of 35 on 10 targets. Calvin Ridley, 6 for 71. Tevin Coleman, 5 for 68. Mohamed Sanu, 4 for 45. And just instantly, Tevin Coleman, if you do some basic math, that puts us at 166 yards from scrimmage for Tevin Coleman.
Good grief.
No,
Yeah.
wait,
Yeah.
that's wrong. 156 yards from scrimmage.
It's
Yeah,
not
fair enough.
that doesn't make it sound any better.
No,
really.
but sorry, I want to get right. So that is offensive stats for today.
The weird thing about this is that Alex Smith is up over 300 yards in a game where the running game's not going, the offense is obviously struggling, but he has sort of statistically one of his weirdly better performances. Is this just a function of garbage time stats, then playing conservative defense at the end? Where do you think that comes
It's
from?
a function of the
Yes.
fact that we had 46 attempts. That's what it's a function
Yeah,
of.
I think it's largely garbage time numbers. They were playing soft towards the end. I mean, there's so many things to break down about this passing game right now that are going wrong. Can we just highlight the fact? Am I wrong? Is Harris the first guy to get a 100-yard game receiving for us this year?
I believe
Probably.
so. Off the top of my head, I think that's
That
correct.
took 8 weeks, and it came from Maurice Harris.
Yeah,
What
and-
is wrong with this passing game? Smith has been a bust. Richardson's been a bust at this point. Up to this point,
I find it really hard to blame Alex Smith for much through about 3.5 quarters of this game. Because we just went over the injuries. Ty Secchi was the left guard. John
I'm
Christian,
talking also most of the season. I'm not just talking about this game.
Just today. You guys out there who are blaming Alex Smith need your head examined. He had a couple of off throws when the game was over, but John Christian should not be on the field. That dude got worked all day long. He had no time to pass. It just
We got killed by penalties.
got destroyed by holding. I counted penalties. I counted. This is unofficial. I
Over
counted
100 yards.
I counted 11 penalties on the Redskins. 8 of those were holding calls.
Right.
And then the Falcons had 7 penalties. About 5 of them came in the fourth quarter. But 8 holding calls.
At one point, it was 9-2 penalties wise, and the game was over.
Yeah, it was. And Josh Doxson had 2 drops on big easy drops. The
Right.
interception the balls went straight through Vernon Davis's hands and bounced off his hands. I
Right.
find it very hard to put the blame on Alex Smith on a day.
I don't put it all on Smith. I just think
but the fans
it's
out there. I had to sit through Twitter
yeah.
today. The defense gave up 38 points. People,
yeah.
it's not. That's not Alex Smith's fault. Was it? Would he have a great day? No. But this is not like let's bring in Colt McCoy and solve all our problems. That's just ignorant. I'm sorry, that's ignorant.
I don't think Colt McCoy's going to solve all the problems.
Maurice Harris,
I think we're stuck this year.
Cause more problems is what it would do.
Maurice Harris and Josh Doxson.
Yes.
Weirdly, both of them having, uncharacteristic games for them. I mean, Doxson, obviously nothing huge, though he did have the touchdown. Do we need to force the issue with one of these guys?
What do you mean by that?
Weeks more? Like, how many snaps is Maurice Harris actually getting right now?
Well, right now he's getting a significant amount of them because there's a bunch of injuries.
Right.
I mean, he's
Is
playing.
He is there a quick way we can see what he got today?
He got 12 no, not snaps. The snap counts don't come till later in the day. The Redskins will send that out, but it won't be till tonight. He got 12. He had 12 targets. That's easily a career high. I can guarantee you that
absolutely.
much.
It's almost a team high for a single game, I feel like.
I think for a wide receiver, it probably is.
I think Jordan had 10 last week, I believe.
Yeah, but that's why I said wide receiver. Yeah. That'd be the. I think there is a discussion that needs to happen at some point amongst the coaches, and the fans will probably already have it. Should Harris be considered the number one on this team at this point?
Well, I think what you're really asking is, should Harris start over Josh Doxson? That's what you're really asking, right?
I would put him over Paul Richardson personally, too.
I hate the designation of number one receiver.
I know.
What is that? Because it's that could mean anything.
Should Harrison be the starting X guy, I guess, would be the best way to put it,
he's
right?
more effective than Josh Doxson.
Yeah.
I'll say it like that. I mean, Josh has the benefit of being the number one draft pick, and they're going to do everything they can to salvage
He's got
him.
some nice things with size, too, that Harrison doesn't
He's not
have.
bigger than Harris. Harrison, he are about the same size.
Are they really?
Yes.
I thought
Josh just has better leaping ability, probably more
Gotcha.
more athletic. But they Harris is 6'3", and Josh is about 6'3". So if you're going strictly based on performance, yeah, sure, Harris should start over Doxson, but that's just unrealistic.
Why?
Because Doxson is the number one draft pick. They don't want to throw. If they bench him, it's over, right? Basically, it's over, and
it's
they're
over.
Do everything. That
I
they
think,
to salvage
Steve,
him.
we probably need to say it's over with Doxson
The team
at some
does
point.
not feel like that. You may say that, and you might not be wrong. But the team,
You said the team doesn't feel like that. Yeah, they're
Obviously
not in a
not.
position
Obviously
to.
not. Yeah.
They can't think about it. They're not in a position to make that decision. When they are, they very well.
Not in week
with
8,
Doxson.
after the season or toward the end of the season when if things go badly and it's over, yeah, sure, okay, but that's just not going to happen right now. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think that's a fair point. So
I just think when I think about what they said about all these guys, Harris, not Harrison. Harris was the guy who they said, well, he can line up anywhere. They don't say that about Doxson. They don't say that about Crowder. They don't say it about Paul Richardson. It's Harris. He's the guy who can play every spot.
Yeah, and in a game like today, I feel like he makes a strong case for himself. I mean,
I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I mean, I'm just saying the team isn't going to do that, in my opinion.
Contextually, it's they're not going to make that decision. I agree with you. I agree with both of you. I don't think you're even disagreeing.
No.
Let's move on more back to this
can we
game.
not, though? Can we? Let's go. I'm going to go to Josh Doxson here, Bennett. Maybe we are going.
Doxson?
Well, yeah, we're going. I mean, we're on the game. He had 2 brutal drops in a row that killed the drive early in the game when the Redskins were still in it. I mean, the first
when they
one,
needed,
He has that every game.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
ball.
that's
he let
his...
the ball get into his chest. And for those of you out there who aren't receivers and don't know this, the cardinal rule, number one thing all receivers coaches teach you is catch the ball with your hands, because when it gets in your chest, it bounces off. And that's what he does.
Yeah, but this is what Alex is saying. He does this every game.
Yeah.
This is why he's saying he's got to be done. It's because he can't do that. It's
look. At the same time, he had a couple really cool catches. He had that one tip ball that he caught. That one on the sidelines that he got the, penalty on for unsportsmanlike conduct, which I've got my feelings about that being
terrible.
Yeah. Can we just let people have fun? Like, he's spinning the ball.
He's spinning the ball a ton. I mean, and he pointed at the ball. I don't understand in whose universe that's a taunting penalty.
I remember in the Garcon days, because he was a big ball spinner too, if you recall.
Yeah, he was.
I remember the rule coming out that it was you can't spin a ball at someone. So you can spin the ball, it just can't be directed at someone or something. But yeah, I mean, why can you sit there and floss for the cameras, do that stupid Fortnite dance, but not spin the ball? It makes no sense. I mean, it makes no sense.
It doesn't matter, and then in the game, but or anything. But
I mean, they basically did it because Santana Moss spun the ball after every catch.
He would spin the ball after a 5-yard catch.
Right. I think that's why they created the rule.
It's the Santana Moss rule. Okay, anyway, to get back to the game, all I wanted to say before we move on, Sean, is that Doxson had 2 brutal drops today again. It's just both of them were inexcusable. Both of them hit him dead in the hands. You just can't do that as an NFL receiver. Sorry, go ahead. Let's move us on. That's all I wanted to say.
No, fair to say. So let's talk a little bit more about Peterson too. Obviously an awful game for him once again. Steve, you were mentioning earlier you're not going to put it on him. I'm assuming you're mostly going the offensive line gave neither him nor Smith much of a chance in this one. Is that where you're going with
sure.
that?
I mean, did you see the penetration by the Falcons defensive line? I mean, not only did he not have – he didn't not have – it wasn't that he didn't have running lanes. It's that he was being hit in the backfield on every play.
Right. It reminded me a lot of our running game most of last year.
Yeah, literally running for his life. He had the one good run that was called back by holding penalty, of course. But the man was hit, and the offensive line just looked – it was a complete disaster in every way, in my view, from the offensive line, particularly in the run game. Terrible. Didn't give him a shot, and this team isn't good enough to win games when they're not running the ball effectively.
Yeah, that's right. This is another game that just shows you how thin this team really is. Yeah. There's not a lot of depth in the offensive line. There's not a lot of depth in the offensive game plan. If you lose Peterson, you've really got nothing. And then it doesn't help at all the fact that Chris Thompson's not around to help you out. This just shows you that it's a team, it's an offense that's precariously balanced on 1 or 2 guys. And if that falls out, then there's just nothing left. And this is what I mean. It's kind of annoying because we've been saying this every single week, and it's super repetitive at this point. But I mean, this is exactly what I would have expected from this team at this point. I mean, there was no surprise here. This is exactly what I figured would happen.
Okay.
The bad days are going to all look like this. I get the feeling. Yeah. They're all going to be us getting blown out. We'll have. We very well could end up 10-6 at the end of the season with 5 more wins that have been this like 21-17 kind of grinded out offense, but we're nowhere near having a high powered offense right now.
And let's talk about the offensive line where we ended up. Christian at left tackle, Inseki left guard, Chase Roullier center, Tony Bergstrom right guard, and then an injured Morgan Moses at right tackle. That's where we ended up. One point we had Christian at right tackle, Inseki at guard, Bergstrom at left tackle, Bergstrom at left guard. It's
starting again, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
The curse of our line is starting again.
Well, here's the thing. Sean Laval, I think, is probably better than some gives credit for. Although the first
great in the run game.
Although the first series in this game, he was atrocious. He got the holding penalty, and then he got just bull rushed and dumped on his butt. On the play he got hurt on. It looked pathetic. Looked like I was out there. But he's made of glass. This guy cannot stay healthy. He hasn't ever stayed healthy since the day he walked in the door here. It is time to move on from this guy. They need to have someone who can stay healthy.
They went into the season with no plan at left guard.
Yeah, but him. He was the plan. I don't know how you could do that.
But he was like plan D. We picked him up, like a week before training camp started?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had no plan. That's a better way of saying it. You're right, Alex. They had no plan. But I don't know how you can rely on this guy when he's never stayed healthy the entire time he's been here. And, again, he looked – that play – did you guys really watch this? If you haven't watched this out there, go look at – I think that was the 3rd play of the game. The right defensive end bull rushed him, pushed him all the way back, dumped him on his backside. It's just bad. And so what that caused is Adrian Peterson to have no rushing lanes. That caused Alex Smith to run for his life. And for some reason, Jay Gruden kept calling long developing pass plays, which Jay, come on, buddy.
I'm glad you brought that up, Steve. I wanted to ask you guys about, before we switch to defense, about play calling, because it really did seem like, once again, it's utter predictability. I don't know that there's anything else they can do at this point, but I guess I'm posing the question to you guys. Is there something that Jay could have done to get a little bit more out of this team early on, or really are they just still continuously dealing with
I think they should have gone to
this is just what we got.
The screenplay flat pass thing. More than they did. The only guy who was doing well, only people who were doing well were Maurice Harris. Vernon Davis came alive in the second half, in the fourth quarter.
Well, and let's be honest, Harris kind of did too. His first big play was the third quarter.
But Samaje Perine, Capri Bibbs had a decent game.
Right.
And he had, the one decent pass play. Adrian Peterson made a couple things happen, in pass. I think if you're going to do anything, you got to get rid of the ball quickly. So that's what I would have done, is go to more of the flat passes and more of the screen plays.
I think that's probably, with what we have right now, because I just don't think Smith has a 100% grasp of the offense. Those are the easy kind of plays that he's comfortable with that would have made a lot of sense.
Well, he didn't have time to do anything else. That's my point.
Yeah,
time.
Of course.
And am I the only one that was positive that Jordan Reed had another concussion?
He had something.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he got benched for performance.
Yeah, he came back in the game, so it means he didn't have a concussion. But on that one hit, it was the third quarter, when his head bounced off the ground, I was sure that we were going to see another 10-week concussion, from Jordan Reed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would certainly fit historically. All right, let's switch over to defense, guys, because what a disappointment. I mean, it's a huge disappointment. Obviously, this is not terribly out of character for the Falcons, right? I mean, they do this to other teams. But you would have expected slightly less. You would have expected at least more resistance, or at least I freaking expected.
Well, let me ask you guys a question off the bat. What can the Redskins do to not get suckered into these wide receiver pick plays? Because that's what the Falcons were killing us with all game. They did the Saints kind of did a lot of it too, and it doesn't get flags. Like the NFL said we're going to flag it, but they don't most of the time.
They flagged the Redskins for it. They just didn't flag the Saints or the Falcons.
They flagged them. They flagged them for it once.
They flagged them for it. Yeah, like in the fourth quarter when it didn't matter.
Exactly. Safeties need to run through those, okay?
Yeah.
That's the only way to do it, is the safety, or the DBs. I should say the DBs need to run through those.
Yeah, because sometimes it's a corner, sometimes it's safety.
Well, and remember what Mark said. We had Mark on after the Colts game. The Colts also did that to us throughout the entire Colts game. And Mark said one way to get around that is to stagger the defensive backs, to have one guy line up right, on the line real close to the guy, and then have another guy back a few yards, and so they don't run into each other. But once again, it's like you saw this in week 2 or whatever that was, and they can't make adjustments for this week. You get burned by the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, that killed them. What really surprised me is the utter lack of run defense against such a bad running team as the Falcons.
Yeah, I was kind of flummoxed by that. I don't know what you do in that situation if you're the Redskins.
And this wasn't a case of garbage time yards.
No.
In first quarter, Falcons 6 runs, 38 yards. It's over 5 yards a carry. Second half, at the end of the first half, 10 carries, 63 yards. It's over almost 6.5 yards a carry. Third quarter, 16 yards, 113 yards per carry, which is 8. That's almost 8 yards a carry. I mean, they did this the entire game. Tevin Coleman is a whole lot better than anybody, me included, gave him credit for.
Yeah, we were all kind of thinking this was going to be like last week, where we're just going to shut down the running game.
Yeah.
Although in retrospect, were we smart to think that, guys? Because now that I'm looking at how this game went out, I don't think that Tevin Coleman, Ito Smith are really world beaters. I think that we're just getting diced so much through the passing game. It takes attention from up front. Like I think that's what happened. I think we were just backed way too far, expecting the pass, and that's how these runners snuck past.
I think they weren't ready.
Actually that great.
Yeah, I think the Redskins had a poor defensive game plan.
Yes.
They weren't ready for this. I think Mason Foster had a terrible game. Mason Foster and Zach Brown in particular, but particularly Mason Foster, he looked bad.
So up and down.
Yeah,
so up and down.
He looked bad in the past, but in the run game, he was in the wrong gap. He let Coleman just flat out run past him a few times. I thought Mason Foster in particular looked badly. And when you have a guy like Coleman who's hitting the edge or running off tackle, meaning the B gap, and just hitting it like that, you got to have those linebackers there. And
this was probably the worst game we've seen from Allen and Payne all year.
Yeah. Were they even?
I don't remember. Steve, did you read off their numbers?
No, I haven't done defensive stats.
No, let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Might as well.
Leading sacks today, tackles today. Matt Ioannidis 7. Matt Ioannidis and HaHa Clinton Dix both had 7 tackles. Ioannidis 6 solo.
Clinton Dix had that many?
Clinton Dix had 5. Ioannidis had the 1 sack. Quentin Dunbar 6. Quentin Dunbar, Josh Norman both 6 tackles. Dunbar 3 pass defenses. Norman 2. Mason Foster 5 tackles. Monte Nicholson 4. It goes down from there. Zach Brown had 3. Jonathan Allen 3. Ron Payne 1 tackle. And that was it. And sacks, who got the other sack? Ryan Kerrigan had the other sack. On the Falcons side, Jack Crawford had 2 sacks. Grady Jarrett had a sack. Leading tackler, I don't even want to read that.
No.
Yeah.
So just forget that.
Who cares about what the Falcons did? We already moved on.
Yeah. So Payne 1 tackle, Allen 3 tackles between the two.
Yeah, that's pretty quiet for both of them.
Yes.
They slept this game.
They didn't get sleep. They got worked. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah, they weren't sleeping. You're right.
Yeah.
Tell me this. What's going on third down? Because, guys, it seems like our defense can make some good plays. Kerrigan gets into the backfield, tips the ball down. Dunbar, goes in, breaks up a pass, has these great plays, and then third down comes, and they zip one to Julio Jones
Nothing's
for 24
going on.
yards. And, how can that happen?
Absolutely nothing's going on. The Falcons are one of the best third down teams in football. I told you that. I told you guys that in the preview.
Yeah.
They have. I'm about to look it up here again because it's not right.
You said it was over 50%.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
So
here in
it's
just a
going to
minute.
be like 52% now because they just kicked our asses there.
This is what they've been doing all year long. Is they've been.
Right.
This is how they win. They continually convert on third downs. And yes, the Redskins
They
were
run a
particularly bad at it.
run a receiver pick and they get a third down. It's very simple.
The Redskins were particularly bad at it, and they let them convert long third downs.
Yeah,
exactly.
The secondary had a bad game, but I mean, the secondary was going to have a bad game. We knew that. There's too many weapons, and we're not good enough. When you have, I honestly, I mean, yes, Julio had 121 yards, and aside from the one just atrocious pass interference play that on Norman, I didn't think Norman was all that awful on Jones. He had some good plays against Julio. Julio's going to get his yardage, just as simple as that.
Yeah, he's Julio Jones.
But the problem is when you've got Calvin Ridley and Mohamed Sanu, and by the way, Austin freaking Hooper, I mean, as a tight end, who saw that one coming? We mentioned him in the preview, I guess. But, I mean, Sanu,
I don't think we actually did at all. I think we made a joke about Logan Paulson.
I did mention him in the preview. I know I did. But Sanu would be the number one receiver, whatever that means, on a lot of teams. There's just way too much talent.
There's too many
back there, way too much talent, and so that's they. We drop. If you guys notice, we dropped 7 into coverage most of the game, and they still just picked us completely apart.
Right.
Yep.
Which also hurt the running game as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the running game somehow it seemed like we were better stopping the run in the fourth quarter, but that might just be my the game was over.
Yeah. I think that defensively they just were not ready for the Falcons to focus on the run game.
Yeah. I think we just got out schemed. It's flat out, out schemed. Not even outplayed. Like I think our players held up for some of it.
No,
but
they didn't. You can have your opinion. My opinion is they got completely outplayed.
Outclassed, yeah.
Outplayed,
well, whatever happened, it was
outclassed,
absolutely ugly. It was a one-sided game.
Can I mention one other thing here before I know you're about to wrap up? It sounds like Sean.
No. Go ahead. We had to do game balls too, man. So.
Greg Stroman is not getting it done at punt return. I argued with someone on Twitter about this, even though I know I shouldn't, because why am I arguing with anybody on Twitter? But Greg Stroman
because it's Twitter.
Yeah,
that's what you do.
But we get a million mentions and stuff during game days, and for some reason, one dude, I couldn't leave it alone. Greg Stroman is not getting it done on punt returns. He's not. He's completely ineffective. And the dude's point was, okay, he's not fumbling once a game like Crowder did. You got me. He's not fumbling a ton, but he's not effective. I don't know what
he's not picking up 5-10 yards.
No, he's not. I don't know why the Redskins can't do punt returns. Somebody's out there, if we have time, maybe one of us will do it. We need to look at the all-22 on punt returns and see exactly what's happening, because the punt return game is a complete non-event for us, and it hurts the team in the form of field position. So I just want to
Steve,
get that
I love special teams. Make me do it.
Okay, Alex, that's your job, and your job is to write about it.
All right.
Write about special teams. Nice.
Write about punt returns in particular.
Punt returns,
Yes.
which are actually one of the easier things in special teams to kind of figure out if you're looking at it. But
because Stroman isn't getting it done. I'm sorry.
No.
Going into this game, we as a team, the Redskins, were averaging 6.7 yards per punt return. It was 6.1 last year. So, we have a half yard on last year. So although after today it may go back down. So
we might have just KO'd that.
Yeah.
All right. So before we do game balls, why don't we just go around and tell me this? Does this game change your feelings about the team right now, the status of the team right now? Does it make you think they're worse or better? Or how are you feeling about the team after this game?
I'd like to throw that back at you first, because you're the one that tried to convince me that this run defense was the best in football, and I said it wasn't. I said it was good, but not the best. And these dudes got worked by Tevin Coleman and somebody called Ito Smith today. And so I think they were exposed today. I mean, we knew the Falcons were an elite passing team. We knew we know Matt Ryan's an all-pro quarterback. We knew Julio Jones was probably the best receiver in football. We knew they were going to get theirs, but the defensive line got worked. The linebackers were terrible, and I think they were poorly prepared. Their defensive scheme was bad, and they just got completely outplayed defensively, and they got exposed. You know, I think in this team, so I don't know what you feel, Sean, but I thought the truth is somewhere in the middle.
I think that's more or less where I would go with the two. But here's what I would say. I don't think Tevin Coleman and Ito Smith are Mark Ingram or even Christian McCaffrey or Ezekiel Elliott or Saquon Barkley. I don't think they're any of those guys. I think we have played higher caliber offensive lines and higher caliber running backs than this. I think what happened today in the running defense, is you have guys that are getting frantic and panicked back there in coverage. You know you're getting sliced and diced. You know if you give extra attention up front, I mean, you know what's going to happen in the backfield. You're just going to get torched, which is what happened anyway. So I think what happened was, like you said, a total lack of preparation. Didn't have the right game plan. They're trying to make adjustments on the fly. They can't do it. These guys, Ito Smith and Tevin Coleman, managed to sneak one in past what I think is still a high-caliber run defense. But, I mean, anyone that having doubts about this game, I totally understand. I mean, it looked really ugly. But it's just this was a worse performance from those guys than we've seen. Is this the worst run defense performance we've had this year? Probably.
Oh,
yeah, probably.
Probably is.
Definitely.
So, you know, no one's perfect every single game. I'm going to give them this mulligan. But, yeah, I mean, you don't want to see it again. You can't afford to see it again. So that's what I think about the run defense. And then just general thoughts. I got nothing, guys. This doesn't surprise me. This is what I would have more or less expected. I would have thought we would have been able to give them a little more resistance and keep that scoring down. It didn't happen, but I'm not blown away by this at all.
My general thought is this team is terrible. They're not mentally tough enough to play well when they should play well. Maybe that's a bad way to say it.
No, that's a fine way to say it.
They're not.
No, I get it.
They're kind of front runners. You know, if things are going well, it's great and we have a lot of fun and the team says good things, and then they come out and they lay an egg. Repeatedly. They broke the cycle against Dallas, which was a miracle.
Right.
But they beat down, a Giants team they should have beat down, at least defensively they did, and they come out here and they just look atrocious, and they for all the reasons we just said. So, this team, just something about the mental makeup of this team doesn't allow them to be consistent, and you got to put that at the end of the day on some of it on the coaching staff.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, when I look at this game and what it means in the larger scheme of things, it really, to me, this was kind of and the New Orleans game was like this too. This is a test of, can you hang with the teams that are regularly in the playoffs or not yet? And, I mean, the answer is no. Now, luckily, I think this team has proven they're good enough to beat most 500 caliber teams and most of the bottom third of the NFL.
I would agree.
If you were to divide it into those 1/3 chunks, I think we're on the top of that second tier, which means we're, probably about a wild card caliber team. We might even win the NFC East just the way things shake out. But that's really what we are. We're more of a wild card caliber talent.
I'm with you on that completely.
That kind of was just proven by this game that's where we are. And that's, not great. That's not what you want it to be. I don't, when I look at that and I look at the, age of a lot of our, offensive weapons, that it tells me we're not going anywhere. So, there's a lot of concern there.
If the team continues on this pace and keeps, exactly like you just said, Alex, beating the bottom dregs of the NFL and maybe most of those 500 teams, but losing against the good teams, what's going to happen with Gruden at the end of this year?
You asking me?
Asking both of you.
Well, unless if the wheels really fall off the cart, and we end up going, 2-8 in the last, or I'm sorry, we've already played too many games for that. If we go like 1-7 or 2-6 or something in the last,
right,
and it really just gets ugly.
If we wind up at 7-9,
yeah, he could get fired. I mean, because progress would
absolutely
not be made in the second half of the season, But if they go along and they keep winning, every other game like this and end up about 500, or 9-7. I don't think he's going to get fired in a situation like that. It would take the wheels to really fall off for it to get fired.
And at the same time, you're saying that, but we don't know the status of some of these linemen we just lost.
No, we don't. And the other thing is,
if we're talking about suddenly we're starting a line of 4 backups in our starting center, or who knows what it is, it probably won't be that bad. But let's say worst case.
Not only that, but I know you guys out there think that the Redskins have this super easy schedule coming up and everything.
They don't. That's just the way. It's just a weird early schedule for.
Yeah,
teams.
And we have a lot of away games coming up and a lot of division games coming up.
Tampa won't be an easy game.
Tampa almost came back against the Panthers today.
Right.
From way down.
Unless they decide to start Jameis Winston, then it might be an easy win.
The Houston freaking Texans, of all teams, have won 5 in a row. I don't know what they haven't played yet today as we record this, but they won 5 in a row. They haven't had their annual injury spat yet. What we thought in the beginning was a winnable game has turned out to be a totally different ball game with that team.
Right.
We haven't.
They're kind of in the same spot as the Redskins, where they're a not great team, but they're a decent team.
Except they've won 5 in a row.
Yeah, but that's how the schedules shake too.
But the point is, we haven't played the Eagles at all. We have 2 games. Here's the point. We don't want to get into all that. The point is, it's not an easy schedule coming up, no matter what you think.
No.
It's not. So we don't know how this is going to go. I suspect, just by the nature of this team, that they will probably come back and play well against the Bucs, because that's what we do. But we'll see.
Yeah, you're probably right. There's nothing.
Don't be surprised if they split the next 2, though.
What's that, Alex?
I think they'll split the next 2, though. Probably is what we're all saying.
History suggests that that's the case.
Yeah,
that's what we do. Is we split games.
Yep.
All right, let's do game balls.
Okay.
Let's give these out. I'll just jump on this to keep that train moving.
Okay.
All right.
Offense, I am going to go with my man, Maurice Harris. Getting over 124 yards, I think is what you said, Steve.
124 yards.
I'll take it. It's tempting to give it to Josh Doxson for his touchdown. It's tempting to give it to Alex Smith for getting up over 300, but Maurice was the standout. So I'm going to go with that on offense.
Okay.
And then defensively, there's a couple good candidates. I mean, it's one of those games where you had some good performances in a horrible game. One that ultimately it didn't matter, but you had a couple guys do good things.
Okay.
I'm going to give it to my man Matt Ion for leading the team with total tackles and getting that stack.
Okay. I'll go next, I guess. Right. I think Maurice Harris is the only one who deserves a game ball on offense. Alex Smith had a lot of yardage, but he didn't have a great game today. I can't in good conscience give him a game ball. Yeah, Adrian Peterson, tough day for obvious reasons. The other candidate would be Vernon Davis. But Harris is the one who kind of came through. So I'm going to Harris. And on defense, I'm giving my defensive game ball to Tevin Coleman of the Falcons.
No, Steve, you
can't
do that.
I can do that. Our defense is horrible in every way. Nobody deserves a game ball. What they deserve is to have the game ball shot with a 12-gauge shotgun. Okay?
Out behind the shed.
Yeah, I'm not going to give a game ball to Tevin Coleman.
I think every time the Redskins have lost, Steve has given a game ball to the other team.
I only did that against the Saints, and that was it. And I was serious about the Saints. I said I wanted Jay Gruden to go present the game
I put
ball
it down. I mean, but it doesn't count in the overall picture.
I'm not giving it. No one on the defense deserves a game ball, and I refuse to give one. Unless you guys make me give one, I'll make something up. But nobody deserves a game ball.
We don't make anybody do anything. We don't even make people do this show.
That's true.
So.
Okay, in that case, I'm not giving it. There's no defensive game ball to be had. 0.
All right. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go with you guys and give Harris a clean sweep here. I've always been a big Maurice Harris fan. I mean, we've talked about that on the show.
Maurice Harris fan. Everybody's a Maurice Harris fan, right? Don't everybody love him?
I honestly didn't know if he was a fan pick or not. Yeah. If he is, that's news to me. But I like it.
He hasn't been around long enough to become the villain yet. It'll happen.
Yeah, he's only been here 3 years. So.
Something will happen.
So, all right. So Harris gets my offense, and on defense, I guess Dunbar for the interception.
The despite his injury.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Can I just say, by the way, guys, too, I know it's kind of an extracurricular point, but I'm really tired of, and we've talked about it before, but the Redskins giving these heroic moments to opposing teams. You sit there with the big Drew Brees, end zone celebration, at the Redskins' expense. You sit there, Julio Jones gets his first touchdown today, and the whole team storms the field, to pat him on the back. I'm really tired of watching this every week. It's just like this heroic, Cinderella story from the other team. It's getting really old.
Well, it's not every week because obviously we're 5-3, so 5 weeks it didn't happen. But
fair, but it's still too much.
It reminds me a little bit of this goes back a ways. Remember when we had a streak of like 6 rookie quarterbacks in a row got their first win over us?
Yeah,
it reminds me of that.
Yeah,
it's like you can't get over this weird thing that you keep doing.
Yeah, you keep giving somebody some big, marquee moment, and it just makes it look so much worse.
Okay, I do have an injury update here.
Yeah. Okay.
This is from Jay Gruden at his press conference.
All right, Jay.
Scherf has a shoulder injury. Will undergo an MRI Monday. Laval is the knee.
That's not good.
MRI Monday, and that's all he mentioned. He did mention that Matt Ioannidis would have been the next man up at guard. At guard had Ty and Secchi gone out there at the end of the game, it would have been Matt Ioannidis. Yeah.
You mean your boyfriend, Matt Ioannidis?
I mean, Alex's lover, Matt Ioannidis. You're gonna have to comfort him today. When he comes home tonight, you're gonna have to, have
an extra beard stroke.
Yeah, have a candlelight dinner ready for him or something. I don't know what you feed a NFL defensive tackle. It must be expensive, but
after a loss, they don't get anything. I think that's the rule.
Oh yeah, you don't have to. Alex doesn't have to cook tonight.
Throw some slop in the trough for him.
Yeah.
There we go.
Here's another one. Let's see, Dunbar. Okay. No, that's it. That's all the injury that came from Gruden today.
All right. Well, we will leave it there then, and we will have our written recap coming up tomorrow. So until then, we'll see you online. Take care. Click.
Have fun with that recap.